Abosidi Adeniraduremi. U.S. President Donald Trump says he plans to speak to his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, tomorrow. He adds that negotiators working to end the Russia-Ukraine war have discussed the division of certain assets. We have a report.
We want to see if we can bring that war to an end. Maybe we can, maybe we can't, but I think we have a very good chance.
President Trump's comments come after he announced last week that Ukraine had accepted a U.S. proposed 30-day ceasefire, leaving the Russian side the rest of the room to accept his proposal for an end to the war. President Trump says negotiators have already identified some key areas for discussion, which include land and power plants. The U.S. leader also says talks have also begun on the division of certain assets. The Russian president's response to Mr. Trump's backed ceasefire proposal so far has been ambiguous. He says Russia agrees with the proposal in theory, but President Putin set out tough conditions and demanded concessions from Ukraine. He re-emphasized his claim that the current Ukrainian government is part of the root cause of the war. Meetings between American negotiators with representatives from Ukraine and Russia will continue this week. The Kremlin also says U.S. negotiators will travel to Russia for further talks. Russia first started seizing parts of Ukraine in 2014 before launching its full invasion in 2022, triggering the largest land conflict in Europe since World War II. Meanwhile, Ukrainian and Russian drone attacks continued overnight, with Ukraine claiming Russia is still trying to invade the Sumy region in the northern side of the country. Sumy is close to the Kursk region, where Russian forces are desperate to take full control.
For more on negotiations by the U.S. on the Russia-Ukraine war, I'm now being joined by a global affairs analyst, Ejike Okpa from Texas in the United States. Good to have you join us at this time. Land, power plants dividing up certain assets. This peace deal appears to be economically driven. Is this the crux of the war? And how effective could this strategy be in ending the war? Mr. Okpa, I'm afraid I can't hear you. If you could unmute your device.
Oh, sorry, thank you. So, as I was saying, war is usually an action taken by a side that feel that they're going to gain something out of it. It could be minerals, it could be expanding their land territory or something, along those lines. So what Russia is trying to do is to be able to weaken Ukraine and get something out of them so that they too, will feel like they're the winner. And so that's what has enabled this war. And hopefully, with this new maneuvering that President Trump is doing, maybe it will come to an end, because if it doesn't come to an end, it's going to go on indefinitely, and we don't need that.
Well, President Trump has actually expressed some optimism. He believes it could happen. But then some are actually accusing President Trump of giving the Russian president leverage in this war. Do you agree with them?
Yes and no. We've seen this war go on for 3 years. At the beginning, when Biden was there, Biden never really made efforts to talk to Putin. He was more like, let's arm Ukraine. And then, Ukraine hasn't given Ukraine any successful outcome. So then Trump comes in and said, hey, I want to end this stuff. There's no need for this war. What are we fighting for? If it's territory, if it's mineral resources, we're going to have to come to terms how we can resolve that matter so that both countries can live peaceful life. Life being wasted and property being destroyed. At the end of the day, yes, you can rebuild those things, but you still have to deal with families who have lost loved ones or people who are alive, who are maimed, and for the rest of their life, they're going to have anger. So What can we do to come to the table and resolve this matter? Win-win. Yeah, somebody's still going to go away feeling that they've been cheated. That's just the nature of life. But we need to end it.
Yes, the war, indeed has to end. But then this strategy being adopted by Donald Trump, has raised questions in some quarters. It just appears like everything is being seen as, a negotiation. What can we get from this situation, even though that doesn't seem to be the basis, for the war itself. So this motive has been queried, it's been questioned. What do you think?
Well, anybody's going to question anything. I mean, that when we had the World War I and World War II, and subsequent conflicts, is that there's always somebody who said, "Okay, we didn't get what we wanted," but life has moved. Excuse me.
All right.
I just think Excuse me. I just think that, countries and neighbors need to come to terms with, hey, proximity is love. The nearer, the better. Can we resolve this matter? You see what is going on in Africa, especially Congo and Rwanda. What is it? What's at the end of the day? The president's gonna die. The people are gonna die. But while people are alive, can we have peace? Peace has to come with the two people wanting peace. Just like even in family situation, sometimes you're gonna have to give up something. That's what they say, opportunity cost. What are you giving up in order to get something? And it can be where you're drawing everybody into it. I've always believed that European crisis should not be world war crisis, but it has always been that. You look at the entire continents in the world, the most conflicts we've had is always come from Europe, and everybody's drawn into it. So can we get to a point where we don't have to deal with that, so that people can, be all they can be in their own country? If they choose to go somewhere else, they do it out of, desire to do it, not that they are being forced out. This is 21st century.
Yes, in the 21st century. Talking about ending the war, Ukraine seems to be so much in support of that 30-day ceasefire deal that they're looking at. But then before now, President Putin, had raised some questions which had made many question his intention, whether he's actually interested in ending the war, asking questions about what will be happening in the course of the 30 days while the ceasefire is on and all that. Do you consider that he's just coming up with those points to perhaps limit and distract attention from the real issue?
Again, when the two people are fighting, there's always somebody who has a much superior power. Russia feels they have more superior power, and they've agreed a 30-day ceasefire. But then he might turn around and say, "Well, by the way, I don't agree to it." He used to get more attention to himself, and that's what you're experiencing. But the important thing here is that, Trump is here, hey, I'm going to talk with Putin. Maybe he tried, everybody, the world saw what happened when Zelensky was in the White House and how that ended. So after talking with Putin, maybe the three of them will meet somewhere and try to resolve this stuff. So, Russia is feeling that, hey, we are a superpower, but we are isolated. All they are doing is they want to be part of the world, but they can't be part of the world with the attitude of Putin. And the only person that I feel that can get him to talk or reason with the rest of the world is Trump. So why don't we give that opportunity and see, what happens in the next 30 days, or when they meet tomorrow, or when they talk tomorrow.
Now that you've referenced the Trump-Zelensky the conversation, which was traced with a lot of controversy, what are your expectations from the Trump-Putin interaction?
My expectation is that I want to see the two people, have a peaceful coexistence. I don't want to preempt what they're going to do. I just want to see them do something. And that doing something is having a conversation, using diplomacy. Military rules or military intervention have never really solved anything. We can go back to Vietnam. We can go back to even Nigeria's civil war. At the end of the day, if the two people don't want to really merge, it's nothing anybody can do. And I'm hoping that, the Ukrainians and the Russians, and then, will come to terms, because when everybody else goes home, it's going to be the two of them looking at each other. So they're going to want to do what? We want to have peace. We want to be with you, live next door to it. If it's land, okay, fine, take the land. Land is still going to be here when all of us have, existed. Country boundaries have always shifted. You go back in time when we started to define statehood based on a geographic boundary, it has always shifted. It's always been a source of conflict. So you got to come to terms to accept certain things so that you can deal with the ones that you have. The ones you don't have, let it go. And then make life better by doing what? Always keeping an eye on your neighbor.
Mr. Okpa, a global affairs analyst,